6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
International superstar, Miss Butta B-Rocka!
Transparency. Transparency Talks Podcast with Butta B-Rocka.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Transparency Talks Podcast. We have an amazing show today. But before we get started with our special guest, I just want to let you guys know to make sure that during this time of COVID, even if it wasn't COVID, make sure that you are taking the time to elevate yourself, read books, write something, do something, be active. During this time of COVID, you either gonna get extra or you could get extra. So work on yourself and get it right. So also make sure that you go and read my book, Fear of Failure, Fear of Not Trying. It is on Amazon. I am an Amazon best-selling author. So make sure you check it out. But without further ado, I would like to bring on Mr. Demetrius Flowers. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. Now, you are CEO and co-founder of Creative Content Development Group, LLC. You're also a special agent and a criminal investigator, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
So we're going to dive on in, but all right. I was super excited because like when you were speaking to the guys, the fellas, I think it resonated to all the parents out there too, because I was like, wow, I mean, your story was absolutely amazing. So before I get into the questions and everything that I have for you, can you tell us, share, a little bit of your story and your background of what you was telling all of our teens?
Yes, absolutely. So again, thank you for having me. It is my passion to, I believe that all of us go through things in life, and that if we just get out of our way and understand it's not about us, but when we overcome and have some successes in life and have the opportunity to look back, we'll see that there's a lot of lessons that we can share, especially with young people, to help them not have to go through some of the things we may have had to go through, or to help them be able to navigate those obstacles that they are experiencing in their lives, where they may feel like, woe is me, everything's coming against me, and the opportunities and what I see for my life are not possible. And so, my story is not unique. I'm just very open about telling it. I was born to a teen mom. My mom was 17 years old when she had me. I've never met my biological father. And all of the things that go along with that, and growing up in the inner city of Chicago, grew up in an area called Inglewood. And so if you pay attention to anything going on in Chicago now, that's a pretty rough area. It was rough when I was growing up as a kid. And so, I had a lot of things that I could have taken and stored away for why I was not going to be successful or why I couldn't achieve in life. But, I was blessed just enough to have a grandfather who saw something special in me. I was able to spend some time with him, lived with him for approximately 4 years. It really shaped and changed the way that I thought and saw things with life. And I had that opportunity to spend that time with him here in Georgia, in the Atlanta area. And when he passed away and I went back to Chicago at the age of 10, nothing felt the same. I didn't see things the same. And so I'm just a real big believer that once the human mind expands, it can never go back to its original form. And during that time that I spent with my grandfather, he would ask me consistently what it was that I wanted to do with myself in life. And from the age of 6 to 10, I knew I just never would say to him, because, we're going to be transparent about this. Growing up in a predominantly Black community, there's not a warm and fuzzy about law enforcement. But I've always liked what I believe being in law enforcement stood for: the honor, the courage, the commitment, the mindset to run towards danger when others are running away. That ability to really want to help people and to be and do great things within your community. And so that's what I believe that it stood for. That's what I saw when I see law enforcement. And I told my grandfather, because he pulled me in his bedroom to tell me he was going to pass away, that he wasn't going to make it. He had terminal cancer, and I was going to have to go back to Chicago when I was 10. And he asked me, he said, man, I've been asking you for 4 years, what is it that you want to do? And if you don't know, that's okay. And I started crying and told him, I've always known I want to be the police. And he said, man, that's an honorable thing. That's an honorable career. I think you would be very good at that, Demetrius. I just have one request. If you're going to do it, I want you to go and be the best. If you can, go and be a special agent. And so from the age of 10 until I became a special agent at 24 years old, I would tell anyone and everyone that would listen, I'm going to be a special agent.
So, I mean, you became a special agent at age 24, which is insane because that's super young. Well, we're going to scoot back just a little bit because at age 18 is when you joined the United States Marine Corps, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so tell us about that, and then we're going to go into how you got into special agent.
Absolutely. Well, my grandfather had spent, I want to say, approximately 37 years in the Air Force. So he retired from the Air Force. So we had a long lineage of, military in my family. I had some other relatives that had been in the military. And let's just be, again, transparent and honest. Although I don't want to put myself on a pedestal like I had it all together when I went back to Chicago, I just didn't, Again, our minds are very impressionable. And we just don't know what we don't know, and we don't know many times how to deal with adversity in the best way. Well, I again, growing up in the environment I grew up, my home life was not the best, and I know there are a lot of young people that are experiencing that. And with that environment and trying to maneuver and figure things out as a young person going into my teens, I didn't do what I was supposed to do in high school. I pretty much CDF'd my way through high school, and so I did not put myself in a position where anyone was going to give me an opportunity to come into their college and give me any type of money to go to school. And so I had to accept that and deal with it. And I had a real wake-up call following graduation because that safety net now clearly had been removed. And when I walked across that stage, I felt it. I cried like a baby at graduation because it hit me like, whoa, I can't go tomorrow back to that high school, and then seeing all of your friends who are excited about getting into college, and then I did not have a plan. My mind just started to go back to some of the conversations I had with my grandfather, and I knew he had spent time in the military. And so I had met a recruiter during one of those college fairs, career fairs at the school in the gymnasium. I had a recruiter with the Marine Corps, Staff Sergeant Solomon. Still remember his name to this day. I was walking through and he called me and told me to come here. And I said, I'm not interested in joining the Marine Corps. He gave me his card and he said, I'm telling you to be good. You're going to call me, son. And following graduation, the very next day, that Saturday, I woke up in the morning and I was feeling so depressed and down because I just did not know what I was going to do, but I knew I had to do something. I just truly believe that, an idle mind is a dangerous place and you can find yourself being pulled in the wrong direction. So I wanted to be very proactive in what I was doing and making the first really adult decision of my life. And I got up that morning in tears, went and started looking for his card. Because I woke up, it was a Marine Corps commercial on the TV in my bedroom.
Wow.
I got up and found his card in the closet and I called him. And when he picked up the phone, it blew me away. I hadn't talked to this guy months. He said, Demetrius Flowers. I knew you were going to call me. And before I could get it out of my mouth, he said, what you doing today? I said, nothing. So I'm going to come get you. We're doing a mock boot camp in Kankakee, Illinois. He goes, and I'm going to come get you. And I went down, and all of the physical stuff, the running, the jumping, that didn't bother me. I was an athlete in high school. And I went down, and that day I told him, sign me up. 2 weeks later, I was in MCRD, San Diego, in Marine Corps boot camp, thinking to myself, what did I just get myself into?
Right. My sister, she's wasn't in the Marine Corps, but she's in the Army. And when she went to boot camp, that boot camp make you really think about your life. I don't know exactly what goes on because I never went, but I'm heard.
No joke.
I've been told it's no joke. So you moved up the ranks pretty fast. You became a sergeant within 8 years. I don't know exactly when. Well, you served with the Marine Corps for 8 years. Mm-hmm. But when did you become a sergeant?
So I made it to sergeant actually in 4 years. So I served actively on active duty for 4 years and in the reserves for 4 years.
Okay.
And so so I made it to sergeant. You know, I would say fairly quickly. Again, I was, you know, coming from where, that's the other thing I try to tell young people. Whether we believe so or not, if we just turn our eyes off of woe is me and really look in the mirror and understand all of the amazing gifts and things that have been instilled in us because of the struggle. Mm-hmm. Like, I was in boot camp and I was watching guys crying about some of the things that we had to do, the running and, you know, and the yelling, and that didn't bother me coming from the environment I came from.
Right.
And so I ended up being meritoriously promoted out of boot camp. You know, 125 pounds soaking wet, and we graduated close to 1,000 Marines. So, you know, that really shaped my mind, like, you know, you really can do that. What I will say the Marine Corps did for me was I left out of there really with the mindset, like, there's nothing you can't do. And it was at that point I started telling people, anyone that would listen, I am going to be a special agent. Like, I mean, I knew it at that point. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to become a special agent. And so the Marine Corps was great for me. And again, it allowed me to get outside of those four walls of where I grew up, go and see the world. I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, was able to travel on duty details to Thailand and to the Philippines and to China, you know, so just got out and got to see the world. And then, you know, when you do that, you come back into your environment and I was telling everyone, like, there's a big world out there. It's really so much to do and see. And again, the experience and the struggle that I did, I came to realize how much beauty it was in that. As crazy as it sounds, because, you know, I just didn't feel like it wasn't anything I wasn't going to be able to overcome and achieve.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. When I started touring overseas, it made me really appreciate what we have here, and it made me also realize that the world is huge. I mean, it really is. So you became a special agent at the age of 24. Can you tell us how you got on? Because when you told that story of being persistent and what you did, it was amazing to me.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to say, again, it's just my upbringing. It's nothing special. I always try to tell people, you know, especially young people, there is nothing special about me. You're talking about, again, a young man that my mom was 17 when she had me, right? You know, again, I've never met my biological father. I CDF'd my way through high school, but I did take advantage of my opportunities for education in the Marine Corps. And so during my time in the Marine Corps, I obtained my bachelor's degree. And after getting out of the Marine Corps, I obtained my master's degree. So I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice and my master's degree in public safety leadership. And so coming out of the Marine Corps, I was already on a trajectory where, you know, a lot of my Marine Corps brothers and sisters, you know, after, you know, we got off work, everyone wanted to relax and go and chill and things. That I was getting off work and going to night school.
Right.
And you know, I know a lot of people thought I was crazy, like, you're not having any fun. But I understood that, you know, I had a short time to really get some things in place if I was going to chase after this dream and goal that I had of becoming a special agent. And so coming out of the Marine Corps, I got out. I had to make a decision. That's why I spent 4 years and then did work in the reserves. But coming off of active duty, I had to make a decision. You know, am I going to re-enlist or am I going to get out? Well, I ended up getting out, and it wasn't easy. You know, the easy thing would have been for me to stay in the Marine Corps. I had made it to sergeant. I was flying through the ranks. I was talking to my supervisor at the time about putting in an officer candidate package because I was in school. You know, they have different programs that will allow you to finish up school and then become an officer. So all of those things were running through my mind, but I still had this in the back of my head, like I just really want to chase after this goal of becoming a special agent. And so I got out. And when I got out, I had a rude awakening. Like, you know, things had gotten a lot rougher. It was a lot harder in the area that I was growing up in. And then I had to go from being independent and taking care of myself and had to move in with, my aunt. And that wasn't initially, but when I came out, I started working at a job with public storage, and I was going to night school still doing my reserve time in the Marine Corps. But at one point, I was applying, and during my time coming out of the Marine Corps, and while I was trying to apply, I was applying to everyone: the U.S. Marshals, DEA, ATF, the FBI. A lot of people don't know there's approximately 96 federal law enforcement agents. I was applying to everyone, and some of them declined me multiple times. You know, so I ended up with approximately 70 declination letters where people were telling me that, even if I was qualified, that they had went in another direction, and many of them that I was not qualified, right? And so I know that when I say that, people go, what? I say, yes. I ended up getting denied over 70 times. But here's the key to all of that. I had already done my homework and understood that to become a special agent, I just had to get it done before my 37th birthday. I told you I got on at age 24, so my mindset was I'm just gonna keep applying and keep doing what I'm supposed to do all the way up to 37. And if in between this time, somebody's gonna pick me up. And so that's what I kept doing. Well, the U.S. Marshals called me and they said, come on in and take the exam. I took the exam, passed the exam. When they called me to do my background, I advised them that I was still in college and needed to finish out my degree, which I had one more course for an internship before I transitioned over. And they brought me in to do an internship. Well, while I was doing that, in order to do the internship, which, mind you, was a free internship, I did that for almost 2 years with them.
Wow.
I had to quit my job with public storage to do that because the hours conflicted, right? Because the marshals wanted me in there like I was a paying employee every day. So I quit my job, moved out of my apartment, and moved into my aunt's basement. And every time it rained, the sewer would back up in my bathroom area. I felt lower than low. I kept thinking to myself, what are you doing? Like, are you sure this is right? Maybe you should just go back into the Marine Corps.
Right.
But, just with a lot of prayer, again, there's nothing special about me, just through a lot of prayer and really believing I can get this done, even in the midst of that, continuously receiving declination letters, because I still kept applying to everyone. I went through that process. Well, a guy that ended up becoming one of my best friends in the world had interned with the Marshals previously. And one of the administrative assistants named Beverly with the Marshals, she told me, I keep calling this young man and telling him, you remind me of him, he needs to come meet you. And the guy by the name of Tim Morris, he came over, met with me approximately my year and a half into my internship with the Marshals. And he looked at my resume and said, man, is this legit? I said, yeah. He said, well, let's change some things because you have it geared towards the Marshals. Approximately at 4 p.m. that day, he said, I'm going to take this to my boss. Now, mind you, I believe people have the best of intentions. And when people say a lot of things, they don't, say that they're going to help you. I think people really do intend to help you, but sometimes a lot of things are out of their control. And he was a young agent just like I am. I was when I got on. And so he told me he was taking my resume to his boss with the U.S. Customs Service. I just took it as I've heard this before. He was a great guy, great contact, and I'm just going to store him away as a contact to stay in contact with him. I had no idea that 30 minutes later, the special agent in charge with U.S. Customs would be calling my cell phone. And she called me and said, hey, I'm going to be in D.C. for the next few months. And this agent is adamant, we need to hire you. She said, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be in the office until about 7 o'clock. If you can get over here today, I will speak to you. Well, that morning I had gotten up and went out with the marshals on one of the operations they were doing. So I was in some jeans, I had a Marine Corps sweatshirt on and a Yankees baseball fitted. And so I'm thinking, I can't go over here and meet this lady like that. I called up another one of my friends, one of my best friends at the time, Damien, and he came and got me from the marshals, took me home. I jumped in the suit, grabbed a briefcase, and I got to her office. When I got up and got to the glass, I remember her walking up when I asked for it, and she came to the glass. She looked at me, she says, Demetrius? And I said, yes, ma'am. When she let me in, she said, Tim told me you were in jeans because you were out with the marshals this morning. I said, you get one opportunity to make a great first impression. And she says, is everything on your resume legit? I said, yes, ma'am. She stuck her hand out and said, welcome to U.S. Customs Service. She said, hire me on the spot. I started crying like a baby. That's how I got on.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows that what is, one, what's for you is for you, and two, it doesn't matter if you get rejected. If you keep going and keep going and keep going, eventually you will get to where you need to get to. So
I think that's so very true, because I talk to a lot of young people that tell me, Demetrius, I really want to be a special agent. And these are young people that are already in the criminal justice programs at some of the colleges that I've had the opportunity to speak at and get involved with. And when they tell me that, you know, they've graduated and they're 2 years post graduation and I'm just going to give up, I always laugh at them. I tell them, I say, I got denied over 70 times. Yeah. Call me and tell me you're going to give up once you reach 70. And it's so funny because I was just talking to a guy today who told me finally, you know, one of the federal agencies had gotten in contact with him, but he was so down. And I said, man, I don't want to hear it. You're not even double digits with someone telling you no. And so you're right. Our superpower, I believe, coming from struggle is persistence. Mm-hmm. And I've always believed that, you know, I may not be as talented, I may not be, quote unquote, the most qualified, but I'm going to out persistent your butt. So better get ready, because I'm not going to give up.
Yeah. I love it. So as your time, well, you're still a special agent, right?
I am. Yes, I am. I'm proud to say that, you know, I have over 20 years of federal government service. Coming up on 17 years as a special agent. So I'm very proud of, one, having that dream, serving my country, and having the ability to say, you know, my dream became a reality. You know, when I go home and I'm talking to guys I went to school with or my relatives and things like that, you know, all people want to do is hear stories about where I've been, what I've done, what have I experienced. You know, I mean, in the environment I grew up in, there's not many young people, I mean, many people that grew up with me that can say that they became a special agent. You know, I often talk to young people and I tell them, I grew up right down the street right there. And they said, no, you did not. All because of this title. And so I just have always believed it was so incredibly important for me to make sure that I utilize, you know, my gifts, my feet, my voice, and the things that I have achieved and accomplished to reach back and say, I am you, you are me, I'm no better than you, keep going, and don't succumb to the environment in which you have been brought up with.
Absolutely, I love all of this. So what type of investigations do you lead?
Okay, so being that I'm on now, you know, close to 17 years, I've done some of everything. I've worked international drug smuggling, I've worked narcotics, I've worked child exploitation, I worked fraud. Currently, I work in the internal affairs aspect of the agency, and so within, you know, the agency that I'm with, the Department of Homeland Security, there's approximately 20 plus agencies that fall up under Homeland Security, and so within the internal affairs construct, we oversee, you know, the employees the contractors, funding, things like that as it relates to oversight for the department. And so that's what I'm currently doing. But I've worked some of everything. That's how I ended up, traveling again abroad in some instances. I had an opportunity to work in an undercover group when I was still working general investigations, and that ended up in Africa and in the Philippines. And so, just again, I'm a kid from Inglewood, south side of Chicago, and I remember being in the Philippines on an undercover operation, thinking to myself, like, I cannot believe this is my life.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
So, it's just like those type of things that I like to share with young people. Like I'm telling you, just keep going. Because, the reality is, again, coming up in an environment I came up in, I can remember being in the 5th grade, the 6th grade, and the teachers asking, what do you want to do? And the majority of the young men all said one thing.
That's
athlete.
Yeah.
That's it. But I remember being in the 5th grade, and Mrs. Balfour said to me when I said I wanted to be a special agent, like that just kind of caught her off guard. Like, wait, you want to do what? I want to be a special agent, and then, having the blessings of the Creator to continue down that path and chase after that, and to then at 24 years old achieve that, I felt like I got drafted into the league.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people, like swoosh, and so it's been one heck of a ride. If I got to punch a clock, it's amazing that I'm able to punch a clock doing exactly what I desired to do at the age of 6. So.
Absolutely. I've said that forever. I left my corporate job in 2007 to pursue music full time, and I was like, if I'm gonna do something, you gotta do something that you absolutely love.
Right. Absolutely.
So let me ask you a question that, I look at a lot of SUV and a lot of Criminal Minds and all that type of stuff. And when people go undercover, they have to go like undercover. And so how is it being able to snap out of that? 1 minute you a drug
dealer. Right. So again, I'm gonna be honest with you. My superpower was the struggle, right? It was where I come from. It was being in an environment where, unfortunately, I saw, narcotics dealing, and I wasn't a stranger to seeing guns, or even, unfortunately, again, the violence that stems from, coming up in an impoverished area where, gangs and narcotics and violence was, have become the norm. And so having that experience really helped me. I was able to operate and talk, and here's the beauty. I never tried to be anything but me. I was, not one of those kids coming up in my environment where, I sagged my pants or did any of those type of things. My grandfather wouldn't have it, and my mom wasn't having it. And so, that just wasn't me. And so when I started working in this undercover unit, I dressed like me. I talked like me. I was myself. And I think when I'm talking to young people about the opportunities that come along as it relates to that, if you ever have that opportunity, just be yourself. Because can't nobody be you better than you. Right. Of course, you end up with a fictitious name and all of the things that come along with that. But it was a lot of fun. But, I was me, and I have acting. Yeah. I mean, you're acting, but, you're still acting like yourself. Right. You're not doing anything that you're not. And I think that's where I found how amazing it was. Again, the beauty of where I came from really has helped me tremendously in my career.
So you've never taken your work home where you still was undercover being Tyrone, the gangster, and come home bringing it, right?
My wife is not having that. Nobody wants me coming home in work mode, and it's hard to do sometimes, because I think a lot of those of us that are I've been in the military or worked in law enforcement. We're type A personalities, right? So we're all about getting it done. What's the objective, and how do I go about accomplishing that objective? And so I can come home and try to do that, but my wife and my son don't pay me any attention, so quickly learn to save that for work.
Right. So how do you unwind and get your mind off of the things that you've seen and experienced? I mean, I'm sure you've seen killings, of course. You worked child abductions and all this type of stuff. How do you shift?
To be quite honest, that was something that I struggled with. I remember thinking to myself, about 4 or 5 years into my job, like my entire surroundings of friend groups were other folks in law enforcement. So what I tried to do was, make that conscientious shift within myself to start developing friendships outside of those individuals. I remember I took up golfing and really got serious about, my health and fitness and working out. So I spend a lot of time, when things are on my mind. The best way for me to clear my mind is, to go get an amazing workout in, that does it for me oftentimes. But then I'm going to be honest with you, I had a real shift about what was a priority and really what was my purpose when my son was born. When he came along, that made me look at everything differently and helped me to understand that, you have to be able to shut that stuff down and not bring it home or have it be a part of what's bothering you when you're at home, because he doesn't know anything about that. All he wants is daddy, right?
Right.
And so I did, take some steps actually about 2 years ago and sought out some professional counseling. And I know that's very difficult for many people to talk about and be open about, but the mind's eye you can't turn off. Right. And once you've seen some things that you should probably never see with the human eye, those things will some way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it's watching a television show or having a conversation, come up. Right. And so I did take the necessary steps from a mental health perspective to see someone and start talking through some of the things that I had experienced and seen, and just how to cope with that, right? And understanding that, even from my wife's perspective or my son's perspective, they're never going to understand, because my wife says, you never talk about work. and my thing is always, because I'm trying to turn that off, right, and not have that on the forefront of my mind, because I'll be up in the middle of the night and everyone's asleep because I can't turn it off. So, I'm very proud of myself for doing that. It took me a long time, but I did. I went and sought out some professional counseling.
That's great. That's great. And it's great that you knew that it was time for you to sought out the,
counseling. Yeah.
Counseling.
Yeah, that's all right.
So you are also co-founder of Creative Content Development Group. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so of course, during my time in the Marine Corps and within the federal law enforcement arena, training is everything, right? It's the difference between life and death. And so I'm impartial, but it goes without saying that the Marine Corps conducts and puts on and trains at the highest level, in my opinion, of any military branch in the world. And I was proud to be a part of that. It made me really lock in and understand the importance of repetition as it relates to training, and then being really focused as it relates to training. And I even contribute that to a big part of me continuing to just apply and apply and apply. I was chasing after becoming a special agent. It was just a repetition of that, but I had learned a lot of those skills in the military, because there is no failure, even unfortunately, when there's a loss of life, you got to keep going, because it's important for us to, win the battle. And so from that perspective and with that mindset, with understanding the importance of training, when I transitioned in with Homeland Security, I saw too, man, training is everything. And now it's not that I'm just in the military, but then when I got on with Homeland Security, I am out here conducting criminal investigations as a special agent every day. I carry a weapon for a living. And so there was a lot of things that started to really come into focus because of the continuous training that we're continuously doing on a regular basis. You know, training just seems to never stop. It's like, I feel like every week we're doing some aspect of training. Well, I fell in love with that. And falling in love with that, I became a defensive tactics instructor and started doing, heading up some of the training within my division within the area that I sit in currently. And so I understood, I'm young enough to still understand the amazing benefits of technology. And one of my best friends, Tim, who helped me become an agent, he too was going and speaking at schools. I was going to speak at schools, and we were just really bouncing off of one another. We had worked on a PowerPoint that we both were utilizing to get out and do a lot of outreach to try to really open up and expand the minds of young people, especially coming from the communities we come from, you know, those impoverished communities, those communities where there's, you know, those young Black kids. We were getting out trying to talk to them about thinking about this as a career option and the importance of staying out of trouble so they could get into this career. Right. Because right now, today, you know, I believe it's less than 3% of the population within federal law enforcement is Black, African American. And so, you know, it's really important that we try to expand the minds of those young people. Well, with all of that, I started having some schools, some colleges, and him as well asking us about the information we were sharing. And so we said, man, we should really write a book, because the reality is they're not teaching this stuff in college. Nobody's teaching you how to become a special agent. And so we started writing a book called the Fed 4-Step Process. And that was a guide to try to help individuals learn, you know, what it is that they needed to do to get into the federal law enforcement arena, and some of the skill sets that we had learned being in federal law enforcement that they could be utilized, young people. Along with that, we started working on a course, and we were initially going to put it again in a book format, but I had called him because my wife went to a Tony Robbins event, I believe, and she was saying, hey, I think you're thinking about this book wrong. You need to think about it from a technology perspective. And when she said it, I got it immediately. Immediately, my mind went to an online course, e-learning. And so when I approached my best friend about it, he said, I don't understand that, but I'll do some research. And when he called me back, he said, I got it. That makes complete sense, because now we can affect and touch so many young people, whether it's if we get into one college, you know, it can be open to as many colleges, and then those that are maybe not even in college, maybe at a high school level, they can access this course. And so we are in the finishing stages. We're putting the finishing touches on that online course as I speak to you currently. So I'm very excited about that. And so that was the start of, wait, if we can create this course, then we can create and do other work in the online and e-learning arena. And as God would have it, I was at the time stationed in Texas. Well, I transitioned from Texas here to Atlanta, never knowing where we were going to live. I let my wife select the house. She said, that's the house. I never saw it. I was still in Texas closing out cases and things like that. About 4 months later, I moved here. And I actually, in the community we lived in, right across the street from me, directly to my right, I met a guy who had 25 years of development experience as an e-learning architect. And when he told me that, it didn't register with me at the time, but approximately 2 years later, I went back to him because of this epiphany I had with the course. And myself, my best friend Tim, Sean, and then he introduced me to our business partner Mona. We all partnered up to co-found and start the Creative Content Development Group, and I'm very proud to say that not only are we doing our thing as it relates to the courses and things we're looking to get out from an individual perspective, but we're actually doing work for corporate America.
Awesome.
So,
can you tell everybody where they can book you?
yes, so you can reach out to me on Facebook. It's easy to find me. It's Demetrius Flowers. You'll see me. I'm under there. My hashtag is the Fit Cop, or on Instagram, at the Fit Cop. And has nothing to do with working out or being in shape. FIT is an acronym for finding inspiration together. I truly have a desire to speak into the lives of anyone that's out here trying to chase after their dreams, goals, aspirations, and doing better. And so I believe that, if we can collectively lock arms like a chain, we can absolutely motivate, inspire, and encourage and help one another to reach further. It's all about stretching, learning, and growing. And that's my desire. And so I would love to, tell my story and be a part of whatever someone is doing to uplift those around them.
Okay. Well, with that being said, thank you so much. I do appreciate you. I'm gonna talk to you.
Okay, awesome. Bye.
Didn't want to give it up. He didn't mean a thing. I put that on everything. Just wanted something different. I put it on the line, threw up the warning sign. Now you have to accept it and play the hand you dealt with. So tell me what we're gonna do, how we're gonna make it through. 'Cause I still want you. We still wanna be with one another. But how can we go on when we both done wrong? Shall we turn away? I'll weather the storm, the storm, the storm. Weather the storm. Weather the storm, the storm, the storm. Weather the storm. Now you pissed, feeling pissed. Are you hurt? So surprised, what, why? What you did